of Management Studies, IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC-001 Management Functions and Organizational Processes for MBA program. Presenting Block 4, Organizational Processes, Unit-10, Organization Structure and Design, Part-2.
Span of control and levels of management. Closely related to the concept of hierarchical structure are the concepts of span of control and levels of management. Let us understand these with the help of an example. In 1975, Mrs. Das, a housewife living in Bombay, started making garlic chili sauce at home and selling it to her close friends, relatives, and neighbors. The sauce became quite popular and Mrs. Das began receiving many orders, including 2 from the nearby Chinese restaurants. Unable to cope with so much work, she hired Indrani as an assistant. This was the first step in delegating authority and creating another level of management. Existing customers now had to deal with Indrani as Mrs. Das herself concentrated on preparing the sauce and tapping potential new customers. A year later, Mrs. Das hired 1 girl to help in the kitchen, 2 girls to assist her in making sales calls, and 1 office assistant for Indrani. Now authority had to be delegated in the kitchen as well as in making sales calls, and hence 2 levels of management were created in the kitchen and sales. The new office assistant reported only to Indrani, who in turn reported to Mrs. Das, and thus there were 3 levels of management in administration. Span of control refers to the number of people a manager has to control. Now, Mrs. Das's span of control extended to 4 people. Indrani, 1 kitchen assistant, 2 sales assistants, and Indrani's span of control was restricted to only 1. By 1980, the small sauce-making enterprise had shifted to a shed in the nearby industrial estate with a full-fledged production facility consisting of 10 people and a sales team of 16 girls divided into 4 territorial teams supervised by a sales manager and an office administration setup of 25 people. Starting out with a relatively flat organization where Mrs. Das was in direct contact with all her customers and suppliers, her organization had acquired many levels of management and a vertical structure by 1980. As an organization adds on levels of management, it becomes vertical and the span of control at each level becomes narrow. In a flat organization, the span of control is relatively wider and levels of management are few. The flow of information in a flat organization is fast and there is greater individual satisfaction, and it is the ideal structure for conducting research and development and new product development groups. There is a great deal of controversy regarding the optimum number of people a manager can effectively manage or the ideal span of control. The important factor is not the number of people whose work a manager has to control, but the number of people he actually has to work with. On paper, the marketing president may have 30 area sales managers under span of control. But since manager does not have to interact with them individually more than once in 6 months, and all other interactions, including the regular reports, are through vice president sales, the system works well. In practice, there is no ideal span and it will vary from individual to individual and from one organization to another. Similarly, there is no hard and fast rule governing the levels of management. Too many levels only add unnecessary complexity because decisions, information, and instructions must go through too many channels. Each organization has to find its own ideal balance. Differentiation of tasks and activities within an organization. The various multifaceted tasks and activities of an organization have to be divided into smaller, manageable components to facilitate efficient achievement of objectives. The most common bases for differentiation and division are function, product, location, and customer. In recent times, the two types of organization structures which have evolved are the matrix organization and the network organization. Differentiation by function. The grouping of activities according to the type of function performed is the most commonly used structure. You would find this not only being widely used in business organizations but also in non-commercial organizations such as hospitals, universities, etc. The functional structure is most suited when an organization is dealing with a single product or service. The activities can easily be segmented into similar complementary activities such as production, marketing, finance, purchase, etc. Depending on the nature of the organization and its scope of activities, the functions it has to perform may differ vastly from those of another organization. For instance, one company which undertakes both manufacturing and marketing have departments engaged in purchase, production, marketing, and finance. If it is selling a product such as TV or refrigerator, it may also have an after-sales service department. On the other hand, a company which is an ancillary to a parent company may have only departments for purchase, manufacturing, and finance. Since it is selling its entire production to the mother company, there is no need for a marketing department. The most important advantage of functional structure is that it allows for specialization of work, thus ensuring the most efficient utilization of human resources. The other benefit of this form of departmentalization is that there is concentration of authority and responsibility in the top man, thus ensuring that there are no conflicts arising from different authorities. The hierarchical line of responsibility is very clearly delineated. The major disadvantage of the functional structure is that functional specialists often lose sight of the overall organizational objectives and work for narrow functional objectives rather than organizational objectives. The other major problem associated with this type of structure is that of coordination amongst so many functional departments, each with its unique set of constraints and problems. Differentiation by product. As a company moves from a single product or service to manufacturing a wide range of products, it may find that the functional structure is no longer effective. This is especially true if the products are very different from each other in terms of the technology, raw material, and manufacturing process used and the final product. In such a situation, the company may then have to adopt a structure which revolves around individual products or product lines. Companies such as Hindustan Lever, manufacturing and marketing detergents, toiletries, chemicals, and agro-based products, Richardson Hindustan with its range of Vicks products, Clearasil cream, and soap have structures revolving around different products. The extent of differentiation would vary from one company to another. One company may club all its toilet soaps, detergents, and washing powders in one product line, while another may differentiate between toilet soaps and detergents or even between individual toilet soaps if they cater to distinct market segments or have a very different raw material base. The main advantages of using a product-based organization structure are that it facilitates optional utilization of specialized machinery and technological processes, permits greater coordination where specialized customer service is required, and enable product managers to be responsible for the profit generation of their department. Johnson & Johnson manufactures and markets a wide range of specialized surgical structures and accessories as well as a range of products for children. Product-based departmentalization ensures that the two major product lines operate as independent profit divisions since there is almost no commodity in terms of the manufacturing process, marketing skills, and market segments served. The biggest disadvantage of this type of structure is that it leads to duplication of managerial manpower, thus leading to higher cost. it also requires a strong leader to control the various product groups so that they do not become alienated from the overall organizational objectives. Differentiation by location. When an organization is departmentalized on the basis of location of different tasks and activities, then the organization is geographically organized. The biggest advantage of differentiating the functions geographically is that it allows for maximum utilization of local resources and talents, as well as speedy decision making in response to changes in local conditions. In fact, where the participation of local people is essential to the success of the organization, as in voluntary and social organizations, a geographic differentiation is ideal. The problems associated with this type of structure relate to problems of top management control and require a large number of executives with general management skills to head the various area operations. Differentiation by type of customers. Another kind of possible grouping is by the type of customer served. A Delhi-based company manufacturing electronic typewriters and desktop photocopiers had organized its sales force on the basis of its two product lines. Its major customer segments were government organizations like public sector companies, ministries, departmental undertakings, public libraries, etc., and private sector companies. The company was not very successful in its marketing efforts. Investigation revealed that same customer organization was being visited by two different salesmen, one each for typewriter and copier, resulting in unnecessary duplication of effort and time. Moreover, the government and private sector organizations each had a very different set of criteria governing their decision to purchase. The sales approach which succeeded in a private sector company could not be similarly applied to a government setup. The company then reorganized its sales force into two teams, one catering to the government sector and the other to the private sector, with each team having responsibility for both the product lines. With the reorganized structure, the company was able to make a dent in the highly competitive market. Matrix structure. The matrix structure is a combination of the product and functional organization and is usually created for executing a project which requires the skilled services of a functional man as well as the specialized knowledge of a product man. Large turnkey projects in specialized fields require a matrix structure. The distinguishing characteristic of a matrix structure is that it operates under a dual authority. A person is accountable to two bosses at the same time, one his usual boss and the other his boss for the duration of the project. Obviously, the problems emanating from this type of structure relate to conflicting roles and authority arising out of an ambiguous demarcation of authority and responsibility. When an organization needs to control other organizations or agencies whose participation is essential to the success, a network structure is organized. In this, the main organization creates a network of relevant agencies and it influences in different ways. Network structure is mostly used in non-business organizations which have socio-political objectives. For instance, the State Industrial Development Corporation (SIDC) may resort to a network structure in their objective to establish an industrial estate. In this, the SIDC may act as the lead agency and involve the State Electricity Board, local municipal authorities, Land Development Authority, authorities for water and sewage control, P&D Department for communication facilities, appropriate authorities for building roads, etc. The SIDC would also need to establish a network with people who would ultimately be using the industrial estate to know their requirements in terms of specification and special needs. It would also use the services of an advertising agency to promote the industrial estate and attract maximum number of entrepreneurs. For the construction of sheds and factories, the SIDC may have to utilize the services of private construction agencies. Thus, a network structure envisages the utilization of a number of different services offered by different agencies. There is need to coordinate the different inputs and synchronize them towards the ultimate objective. Integration of organizational tasks and activities. Having designed your organization structure to suit the specific needs of your company and its environment on the basis of most efficient grouping, you now have to ensure that these differentiated groups are integrated towards a common organizational objectives. Generally speaking, the more differentiated and specialized are the activities, the greater the need for coordination and integration. This is because there is danger of these specialized groups getting isolated and start viewing each other as rivals rather than companions in pursuit of the same goal. Have you ever witnessed a situation where departments belonging to the same organization vigorously fight each other over the allocation of annual funds? Think of our country as one big organization and the states and union territories as its differentiated groups. Do you think they are well integrated towards the common goal of national economic development? The basis for integration is provided by the three elements of an organizational structure, namely authority, administration, and communication network. Integration through authority. The hierarchical relationships in an organization define the status of each position in relation to the others and the power that goes with that position. The basis for the hierarchical relationship is that the superior has authority over the subordinate in terms of assigning work, and the latter in turn is obliged to obey the superior. Hierarchical relationships facilitate integration because they ensure that all activities are ultimately placed under one authority and thus are linked together. The top position becomes the center for all coordination. In a small organization with a single product line, integration and coordination from one central position is certainly feasible. But if you consider large organizations with operations spread over many geographical areas, product lines running into hundreds and employing thousands of people, it is no longer physically possible for one person to coordinate all the tasks and activities. In such situations, the hierarchical structure has to be supported by the administrative structure and communication network. Integration through administration. A great deal of coordinative effort in organization is concerned with the horizontal flow of work of routine nature. Administrative systems are formal procedures designed to carry out much of this routine. Every organization has its own administrative procedures and systems. These relate to almost every aspect of organizational life. The procedure for selecting new recruits, calculation and mode of overtime, travel, medical and other allowances, the system of memos and movement of a file from one department to another for decision making are all examples of administrative procedures. The larger the organization, generally the more formally prescribed and numerous are its administrative procedures. How administrative procedures help in integrating different departments and different levels within an organization can easily be understood by an illustration. In a typical organization, at the end of the corporate year, each individual, say a salesman, would fill own assessment of one's performance. The salesman's immediate boss would fill in a confidential report on the performance. The salesman's own assessment and the confidential report or CR would both be given over to the personnel department, which may add information from its records on the number of years the salesman has been with the company, starting salary and designation, number of promotions and increments, and bonus received, any loans outstanding against one's name, etc. The complete file would then go to the manager marketing, who would, in consultation with the general manager, decide on the salesman's next promotion and increment in accordance with the established salary structure. Thus, the administrative procedure for deciding promotions involves sharing of information between different levels in the same department, that is marketing, and between different departments, that is marketing, personnel, and general administration. Integration through communication. In the previous illustration, the basis for taking a decision about the salesman's promotion were one's own assessment report and the boss's confidential report. Both these are representatives of the means of communication used in an organization. Minutes of meetings, circulars, notices, progress reports, monthly in-house newsletters are all specific tools of the communication network of an organization. Just as manpower, raw material and machines are the resources of an organization, so is information. Information regarding the development of a new technology by a rival company or the introduction of a new model of refrigerator are vital pieces of information which can drastically affect the future course of action for a company. But information is highly perishable. If not communicated to the right person at the right time, it has little value. Information may be received at one level in the organization but utilized at another. Salesmen and other field staff are usually the eyes and ears of any organization. They gather bits and pieces of vital information, but to be useful, these disjointed information pieces must be immediately communicated to the brain of the organization, that is, the managers who will analyze and act upon the information. Just as market information moves upwards within the organization, decisions have to be communicated downwards. A decision regarding change in the distribution network made at the top but implemented by people in the field. Therefore, there is need for communication networks which provide for transmission of information both up and down the hierarchical structure. Similarly, networks should be available for exchange of information at the horizontal level. Computers and many other technical improvements have resulted in organizations' increased ability to collect, process, analyze, and transmit vast amounts of information. Organizations today have greater access to an almost unbelievable array of information. In the final analysis, however, it is not so much the access to sophisticated technology which an organization has that determines the efficiency or efficacy of its communication network, but rather the stance and attitude of the top management in encouraging its people to talk with each other and share more information. Designing structure for a service organization. The distinguishing characteristic of a service organization is that it does not produce any physical or tangible product, but instead it provides a service which may in some cases be almost totally intangible. Dry cleaning, after-sales maintenance for your TV and air conditioner, health clubs, municipal corporations, banks, universities, etc. are all organizations which provide service. A health club service can be described in terms of tangible and specific gadgets and equipments which it has. However, the behavior of the staff towards its clients also forms an extremely important part of health club service but is intangible. In many cases, it is the intangible part which is more important in attracting and retaining customers. In dealing with service organizations, therefore, you should lay emphasis on efficient service as well as friendly and courteous behavior. In highly undifferentiated organizations such as nationalized banks, personalized and friendly service can become a basis for distinguishing the organization. The other important variable in organizing service institution is to correctly identify the service which the organization is providing to the customer and the activities needed to be undertaken to maintain and improve the service. The telephone department provides a communication service to its customers. To maintain and improve its service, it has to ensure smooth operations of the existing telephones, provide for new equipment, procurement, and installation. Summary of the unit. In this unit, we have discussed various issues involved in structuring your organization. You have a variety of designs to choose from, but no one design as it is can prove to be a perfect fit for any organization. You would always need to modify and adopt a structural design according to the specific objectives of your organization, the environmental factors such as political, legal, cultural, and social conditions, and your own attitude as a manager towards the issues of centralization of power and delegation of responsibility. Whatever be the structure you decide upon for your organization, you must always keep in mind the basic principles of defining and describing jobs, differentiating them to form manageable parts, and then integrating them to achieve the common goals.
You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies, IGNOU, for MBA program. Course code MMPC-001, Management Functions and Organizational Processes. Course Coordinator, Professor Srilata, School of Management Studies, IGNOU. Voice over by Harpreet Kaur. Edited by Tarannum Jahan. Program assisted by Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.